In our last video from St. Olaf College, we visited the Dobson organ in Studio 1. After we were done looking at that organ, John Ferguson gave us a tour of the music school, seeing some of their practice organs, and we went over to Buntrock Chapel and heard that organ being played a little bit. We didn't have time to do more. It was snowing that day, and we were just trying to get a quick look around the campus before we left. This was just done with handheld. We didn't even have any microphones out, so some of you are going to hate this video. I can't wait to hear from you. Thanks for watching.
Well, this is only one of several instruments. We have one other big instrument, but then you have several practice instruments here attached to the chapel.
This is the old radio building, and so this is one of the production studios. The other production studios have been retained, and that's where the whole operation for streaming of broadcasts and things happens. And there's a complete production studio on the lower level so that we can do things with up to 7 cameras. So that it's really quite sophisticated, and it's one of the first major streaming operations in academia in the country, actually. We were quite pioneering in that, just like they were pioneering in the original FM radio station. And so around the perimeter of the building, around the perimeter of those other studios, recording studios, broadcast studios, were offices for the staff. So those have been turned into rooms for practice organs. And so we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3 mechanical action instruments, and 3 electropneumatic instruments, and 1 great big Allen, which gets to be up here, so we have another 3rd manual instrument to practice on. But then when big things happen in the gymnasium, there's a permanent set of speakers down there, and so the console goes down there. Okay. So we have 7 of those, plus the 2 biggies, plus a continuo instrument. Okay. So we have a good collection.
Well, rather than head out into the snow again before the traffic gets bad, I'd like to go take a look at those if we can.
Sure.
All right, let's go take a look.
The decision was made to move all the practice organs to this building from the old music building, where they were all on the 4th floor of the old music building, and that building was going to be renovated and turned into the mathematics hall. So we had to find a place for the practice organs, and it was decided to do this, and the remodeling started to happen, but of course it was behind schedule. So in December, it was decided by me, frankly, that we had to get the organs out of the temporary location in the former science building. They had already been moved out of the music building because they were starting to take the windows out. So on a snowy afternoon, organ students were rolling bits and pieces of the practice organs over here. We tried to figure out where are we going to put them, and we realized this was probably the best place. So the Green Army, the folks who take care of us so well around here, got quickly enlisted, and they were moving chairs out. But before that happened, I came in here and there were vocal juries going on, end of semester juries. And I walked in and said, after that person finished singing, "I'm sorry folks, you're going to have to get out of here right now." And they all took, the faculty, 3 of them turned around and looked at me and said, "Okay." And later on, I bumped into one of my colleagues and I said, "What's going on? You didn't say a word." And he said, "But you didn't see your face." And each of these has a story, and we won't bore you with that, but this is a wonderful little 2 manual and pedal practice organ, and of course the doors open. I guess, there we go. So you can see inside. Classic. 3 stops in one division, 3 stops in the other division, and a 16 and 8 in the pedal. By Carl Wilhelm. And then down this corridor, here we have a mechanical action instrument by Dobson. And actually, this is the first Dobson organ on campus, which was purchased in part as sort of a trial to see if Lynn Dobson might be the one doing the big instrument there. And that explains the Dobson organs on the wall. That's Our Lady of the Angels Cathedral in LA, and that's Verizon Hall. And this is quite early, 1978. We've tried to have organ art on the walls in every one of the practice rooms. And then here's an older Schlicker that is an electropneumatic instrument. It's a detached console. So there's a classic Schlicker console. And I don't know if you know, but what looks like a wooden frame in the back is actually the back side of the low 12 of the 16. And now take another left. You're doing just fine. Keep going. There you go. And in here we have what is referred to as the Swellbach Schlicker. It's essentially the same design as the one we were just looking at, tonally. Oh, HD. Ah! Oh, look here. We have names of the organ students. Oh my. Ah! And this instrument has been completely restored. Added a combination action. And then if you go left again, there hides the Allen.
Okay.
Pretty good size 3 manual. Yeah, so it's not been hooked up yet because, of course, its last journey was down for the Christmas festival. So this becomes an extra practice organ. Usually I have it turned around the other way, so you sit with your back to that wall, and then you let the sound come this way, and you don't get quite so much. And down this hall, and see if we share this with the technology people.
Hi, Bert.
Hi there, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I am hanging in there in this weather.
I know, it's thrown me.
This is what was designed as a small teaching organ originally, and in the old music building, where there was a room with the ceiling high enough that you could have this instrument. And it looked like we were not going to be able to use this organ again, because when we moved things out of the old music building, it still hadn't been decided that we were going into this building, and we did not know there was a false floor here that had this on this building until they started to renovate. So this organ was for sale, and we had already purchased the Wilhelm to replace it because we wanted to maintain the advantage of having mechanical action instruments. So we actually ended up with one more practice organ than we started out with. And this instrument was carefully worked on when it was moved and reinstalled. But this one again is older, as you can tell. And then also, because of the ceiling issue, it was possible to do this. And this is actually John and Ruth Ferguson's house organ. And it was in the will to come to the college. And Ruth had retired by then at St. John's, and we met at Eastern, where she was organist. And she said to me one day at dinner, you know, while all of this building is going on with the practice rooms, you usually practice at school, and I'm not playing anymore. Why don't we give our organ to the school now, and we can see it in its new house? So that's what happened. We were able to have a whole camp martini. Well, here we are in Bow Memorial Chapel. The building was opened in the late 50s, and when it was opened, it had no organ. For a while, they had a Baldwin, and then the instrument, as originally planned, was placed in the rear gallery, done by Schlicker. Quite a large instrument with an antiphonal organ prepared for, which was never ever done. And the instrument, as you see it now in the back, is showing part of the original casework for the Schlicker, except that the balance of the instrument was on the sides. So the whole swell organ was on the right side and the whole pedal organ was on the left side. This all happened because the window was added sort of after the project was underway. So Mr. Schlicker had to figure out how to put the instrument in and have it all fit. The organ, this is what I inherited when I came here. And by that time, the instrument had already gone through, I think it was 2 sets of keyboards and 3 pedal boards, and the console was pretty well worn out. So it was decided to get a new console and to do some very minimal work on the instrument from the standpoint of replacing the great principal chorus, the swell reeds, a few things like that. So that happened 7 years after I came. And that's the way things were until it was decided that the building would be renovated. And in the process of that period of time, you know, we began to think a little differently about the breadth and scope of the kinds of music we should sing congregationally, including a lot of cross-cultural music, which is a little difficult to lead from behind, since a lot of it involves singing, perhaps unaccompanied. And so it was decided for that reason, but also because of things like large works for choir, organ, and orchestra, that it would be marvelous if the instrument, the primary instrument, were in the front. So what we did was retain the back 2 cases, and the console in the back is a 3 manual, which was the console that was provided 7 years after I came, which we could keep, but it was not large enough to control what now is a double organ. So the console up front is new. Most of the pipe work from the original Schlicker was reused, and then of course expanded and modified a little bit. The pedal instrument, the pedal division also extends upward 1 or 2, 3 ranks onto what is now called the bombard division, so that we can have a little more big sound when we're doing things with orchestra. And that's proven to be very, very helpful because we are blessed here with an extraordinarily superb orchestra, especially for an undergraduate-only college. And of course, the choirs are nationally renowned, internationally renowned, as they should be. So an instrument which could lead singing, accompany this very elaborate, really, ensemble department in the music department, and at the same time be a recital instrument were the challenges addressed to now Chris Holtkamp, who is the principal at the Holtkamp Organ Company. And the interesting thing about this is, for people who think they know about Holtkamps, this organ has 4 celestes, which is rather unusual, I think, in most people's notions of a Holtkamp. It also has a tuba mirabilis, and it also has a big bombard, and the enchimade trumpet, which was here in the Schlicker, was completely redone so that it's much more mellow than it used to be. So the breadth and variety in the instrument is probably more than you would expect out of a, yeah, you're nodding your head, aren't you, out of a typical Holtkamp.